New Orleans Forum, hosted by NOLA.com and presented by Delta Utilities. I'm Stephanie Grace. I'm a columnist here at the Times-Picayune and NOLA.com, and I'm on the editorial board, and I'll be guiding our conversation today. As a new administration takes office during a really critical juncture in our city, we think it's vital to bring together community leaders and government leaders to discuss where we're going and how we are going to get there. And we have kind of an all-star group with us today. Incoming Mayor Helena Moreno, City Council President J.P. Morrell, and Jason Williams, the District Attorney, and Michael Hecht, CEO of GNO Inc. And we've got a lot of ground to cover, but before diving into the discussion, we want to recognize the partners who made today's event possible. A special thank you to our presenting sponsor, Delta Utilities, for their continued commitment to our community. And we'll be right back to get started after these messages.
Today's discussion is brought to you by Delta Utilities, a new era of safe and reliable natural gas for New Orleans. And thank you to our sponsor, Delgado Community College, your foundation for success in the greater New Orleans region.
You may just be getting to know us, but don't be surprised if we look familiar. That's because the people who make up Delta Utilities don't just serve the community, we're part of it. Our pledge to provide natural gas service to the Gulf South includes retaining more than 700 local employees. Delta Utilities is ready to serve and support because down here, we take care of each other. That's how it's always been. It's why we're proud to call the Gulf South home.
A message from Delgado Community College Chancellor, Dr. Larissa Littleton-Steib.
Delgado Community College empowers students with training that helps grow and sustain our economy. Delgado serves more than 25,000 students each year, equipping them for high-demand fields like nursing, allied health, maritime, advanced manufacturing, and cybersecurity. Delgado also supports more than 10,000 local jobs and provides over $588 million to the state's economy. That's the power of Delgado, an education that's affordable, transferable, and flexible.
I'm ready to get started here. First, a couple of housekeeping notes. We're going to use first names only. We're going to keep it very casual here. We all know each other. And I'm going to personally apologize for the state of my voice. I'm coming off a little cold here. So we've asked you all here to talk about the future of New Orleans, a nice narrow topic. But I think we need to divide that up a little and start by talking about the near-term future because a lot's going on right now. And let's start with our incoming mayor. I'm tempted to ask, are you having fun yet?
Having a blast.
Are you?
Yes.
Oh, good for you.
Yes.
Okay. Political campaigns are usually focused on the big things you want to do. They're aspirational, and then eventually reality sets in. So reality has set in immediately with you with the kind of two budget crises, one a kind of structural one and one a cash crisis. So, kind of given that, what can voters expect in your first year given where you are starting out?
Well, Steph, first, thank you for powering through the crud that's going around New Orleans right now. So first, thanks for that. And great question. I actually get this all the time, that during the campaign, I talked about a lot of things that I really wanted to do and get done for the city of New Orleans. And people ask me all the time, Helena, with the budget crisis that you're dealing with now, can you really get these things done? And the answer to that is yes. And the reason for that is, remember that many of the things that I talked about during the campaign as far as providing better city services for the people of the city really didn't have a lot to do with money. It had to do with better coordination, collaboration, better management, better oversight. And that piece right there doesn't need any money. The other piece too that I also talked about was that there needed to be better partnerships and better collaboration with the state. Better partnerships and better collaboration with our city council. And those are also things that I can bring to the table, but of course, don't deal with any money. In fact, if anything, because of better collaboration with the state, we can probably get more money coming in. And as you already saw, because of the relationships that myself and Council President Morrell have with some of our state leadership, we were able to actually get assistance in moving forward that revenue anticipation note soon after I got elected to ensure that we could make payroll. And so those are things that I can still move forward with. And not to mention, one of the big things that I talked about was creating a street maintenance program and bringing in a lot of the work in-house for street maintenance and not outsourcing all of that. And I do have CAO Geruso already working on that plan. How do we reduce our contracting costs, and by getting those reductions, find efficiencies to then be able to hire up in-house? So all those things are still possible. I see so much opportunity.
That's great to hear. I'm wondering, you have a lot of relationships, including with some people who've been through something like this before. Mitch Landry walked into a situation where, the city budget was in real trouble. Up in Baton Rouge, John Bell Edwards did at the state level. Have you gotten any advice from them, or have you kind of, by watching them, what have you learned about dealing with these situations?
First of all, yes, I've talked to both of them very much at length as to how they dealt with the budget crises that they were left with. Both of them, I think that they believe I have it worse. But that being said,
both were really bad.
Both were really bad with what they walked into, but they're like, yours is probably worse than ours. But all that being said, how you get out of it is still the same, and that's bringing the right people around the mayor, ensuring that we have the right expertise, and then really start working toward efficiencies and new ideas on raising revenue. And so I'll say this, I'm very grateful to have an amazing transition team. Michael Hecht is part of my transition team, and he's actually part of the City Services and Budget Committee. And because of Michael and consultants we were able to bring in, we brought in the PFM firm, which is a firm of financial advisors that help Detroit and other cities get out of financial crises. They're already in helping me find solutions. In fact, it's because of them that we were able to structure and put together a very effective and efficient 2026 budget. So a lot of these things came together, Steph, because of folks that were part of Mitch Landry's team and part of John Bell's team, who are now part of my team. Okay. And so all of those things, yes, what they went through, they're certainly advising me with old ideas and new ones as well.
I'm going to turn to your partner in crime over here, JP Morrell. Staying on the council as you are moving over to the mayor's office, the council, New Orleans traditionally has a strong mayor system, but the council has certain defined responsibilities, and one of them is the budget, is overseeing the budget. So, what can the council do in this situation to keep this from happening again, strengthen oversight? You've already done some of those things in your first term. I mean, one thing that we saw was you moved the budget cycle up earlier, so there was more time to go through it. What else has to happen, and how do you see the two of you working together?
Well, I think, first off, I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak today. I do think the council has tremendous authority, but I think the challenge we've had repeatedly is that when we came as a council, we actually tried to expand our oversight via ordinance. We had several ordinances. A really important one was one that dealt with requiring that all contracts and all obligations over $1 million of multi-year come to the council for approval. We're actually being sued over that one by former Energy CEO Charles Rice right now in court. But one thing I realized structurally is that I had a fundamental misunderstanding of how the council's relationship with the budget worked. Coming from the legislature is in a similar role as the council, but in the Constitution, the legislature has teeth. When a budget is passed at the legislative level, the Joint Committee on the Budget has to approve any effort by the governor to move money around or spend money that is not budgeted. What we began to identify very early on is that there are no guardrails in the mayor of the city of New Orleans. Once a budget is passed, there is nothing that prevents any mayor, past or present, from moving money around without council approval, because the charter essentially says the mayor and the CAO can reconcile the budget at any given point to address obligations. So something we've already worked on, we've passed, and is going to go to voters in May, is a charter amendment to change the nature of the council's relationship with the budget and the mayor's relationship with the budget. More importantly, to say that the budget that is passed in our regular budget process, the four corners of that budget are the budget. That is the money that we have allocated to spend. And if a mayor wants to spend money that is not in the budget, they have to come back to the council and get authority to move money around the existing money to spend that money. If you look at the current budget crisis, between the money that was spent, over $120 million on cash reserves on JIR construction projects through FEMA, and the tens of millions of dollars spent on overtime, neither of which was budgeted, the collapse of the budget, if you look at the post-mortem, it was obviously going to happen. It is chilling to think you can pass a budget with all this public input and council input, and a mayor can utterly disregard it and just spend money wherever they want to. So unless the charter is changed to give the council that true oversight, right now we don't have it. We're fighting for it, we're in court over it, but in the charter, it's not specified, which leads to litigation.
Okay, interesting. And of course, you were on the Joint Budget Committee, so you saw this firsthand. I want to move over to Jason, who preceded you, for people who don't know, on the council, so a lot of relationships here, as I said. A DA's office, I think, traditionally gets involved in cases after someone's been arrested, but you've got several initiatives that are much more proactive, aimed at really getting at the root of crime, which of course is another existential issue for the future of the city. Can you tell us a little bit about them and why the DA's office is taking them on?
If we're honest, I think we all knew that there was a bit of a void in New Orleans. And Rahm Emanuel, I guess, famously said, "Never waste a crisis." And so we've had a crisis long before this budget crisis, if we're honest about things. And I had Andre Godin as my chief of screening. He revolutionized what screening is in the state. He put district screeners in each police district so that we got better police reports and better evidence, which meant better information in, better information out, and you started seeing us win more cases in court because we were helping non-lawyers in uniforms get us from probable cause to proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And it made a really big difference in case outcomes. And at that same time, we did what Desmond Tutu told us was we can't just keep pulling people out of the river. Sometimes we have to go downstream and figure out why they're falling in. So Daniel Shanks, who is the director of our No Dice program, was working with inside of City Hall with department heads, whether it was getting street lights up, whether it was cleaning up a park so we could get 18th Ward in there to work with Nord to provide space so that the drug dealers didn't come back after they were arrested. Because, if you've seen The Wire, as an example, you can arrest 20 people, and that's going to get backfilled. And so we got to a point over the past 3 years where we were able to really realize that police and prosecutors is not what makes us safe. It's this sort of group lift that we have to engage in. I've known Michael Hecht for 20 years, since our two sons became best friends at the JCC. I would have never thought that I would be working on crime prevention with him, with being head of the NOLA coalition, right? That was city leaders, business leaders, police, prosecutors, figuring out root causes. At the same time, I was going into court trying murder cases myself. And so looking at it from that sort of broader perspective, we were able to do some things using the same budget, to Mayor-Elect's point, to get better results. And so now that we've got this real strategic vision that they've been able to put together for the city broadly, there's going to be landmines and obstacles. That's part of public service. But we've got real leaders who are willing to work together to actually find real solutions. And you can do a lot more with less when you've got that sort of unprecedented collaboration.
And you're talking about collaboration with the mayor's office. Obviously, Jennifer Vegno is staying.
That's
Michael
a great
Harrison,
grab. She stole Michael Harrison from me, and I'm glad she
The
did,
former police chief.
because that's going to be a game changer. This man has worked for 4 mayors, in 2 cities.
Borrowed.
Well, look,
Share.
we're all
Shared.
We're all in this same fight, right? And having his expertise to show us those things that worked in Baltimore or the things that didn't work, right? And putting those pieces in place, borrowing from 2 administrations ago, bringing some of those things back. The idea of Daniel Shanks with No Dice, Michael Harrison as public safety, Jenna Vegna. Now you're talking about crime prevention. And so that's fewer calls for services. That's victims who will never be victims, which means we have less work so we can focus on the more serious cases we have.
Okay. Look forward to hearing more about that. Michael, let's shift a little to the private sector here. You know, out in the state, we're hearing about the Meta project and big plants around the state. What are you most excited about at the local level? What is ready to bear fruit in the near term?
Great. Well, thank you, Stephanie. And let me just start by thanking you and the Times-Picayune and the Advocate, not just for having this event, but for preserving 7-day print and continuing to evolve this institution. We benefit from it every day. And also thank everybody up here, the Mayor-Elect, the President, the DA. I haven't heard this level of optimism in the city in many, many years. And it's not just our immediate circle. I was talking to a pastor from the lower ninth earlier this week, and he was saying that, no, it's all of his people as well. There's a sense that we're on the rise. And so I just want to say thank you for that, because it feels good to have that energy again. There's so many projects that I'm excited about that are local. Just to list a few, the charity redevelopment by Tulane, total game changer for Tulane, for that area that's really a spot. It's an urban blind spot almost right now. It's not even blight. You don't even see it.
It's been 20 years. It's been a generation.
It's been a generation. It's one of the most exciting historic rehab projects in the country. And if you look at what happens when other schools go into their downtowns, the revitalization, the research that it generates, the amenities, that's a big one. The River District, I know there's some questions now about how it's going to play out, but we are going to get it done. And I think it's going to be one of the most exciting new neighborhoods in the country. Live, work, play with mixed use and affordable housing. Tremendously exciting use for that space there. Going downriver, across from Bacchanal, the NSA, finally getting that redeveloped into hundreds of units of affordable housing. And then we're going to be putting a new lab there, which is, in my opinion, the best incubator for construction and other tech firms in the country. They're right now in New York and Detroit, and they're coming down here to New Orleans. And then just going further downriver, I guess now I'm just floating, the Louisiana International Terminal. And I think here's the point that people have to understand in New Orleans. It's the only greenfield new deep water terminal being built in the country. It keeps Louisiana in the shipping game because the new bigger vessels are too tall to get under the Crescent City connection. But the one neighborhood that stands, in my opinion, to benefit the most from the Louisiana International Terminal is New Orleans East, because all of the trucks are going to come out the new road. They're going to go and connect into 510, go across the Green Bridge, and that whole area is going to be distribution, manufacturing, and logistics. I think that it actually could spark the revitalization of the East.
Mm-hmm. Which, of course, is something you talked about a lot in your campaign. So let's talk for a minute about the Super Bowl, because you were appointed by Governor Jeff Landry to come in and kind of coordinate some of the work that got done, good results, good reviews. You talked about this in your campaign. Others have, making that kind of the way we do business going forward and having it benefit the people who live here and not just the people who are coming to visit. Where does that go next?
I'm so glad you asked. So for what Stephanie's talking about is that during the campaign, I always talked about, and I even had a commercial about it, about having Super Bowl level services, not just when there's a big event like Super Bowl coming to town, but year round. And what I meant by that is that as we were getting ready for Super Bowl, Michael led a team of city agencies, along with outside groups like Entergy and Cox and everybody else, and made sure that the city, along with its outside partners, were really troubleshooting all of the different issues in the city. So whether it was a whole set of street lights that wasn't working, to ensuring that Poydras got done in a record amount of time, to whatever needed to be done. And so one of the things that I've asked, not really asked, I've instructed my CAO to move forward with is a coordinating council. And the coordinating council will be about creating the Super Bowl level of service all the time. And that's ensuring that DPW, Sewage and Water Board, Entergy, that everyone is at the table as we troubleshoot the different projects around the city, as we ensure that we finally get a lighting asset management plan and making sure that people's lights stay on, making sure that our traffic lights work. And what I haven't told Michael yet is that I would like Michael to be part of it. And so,
okay.
Michael, here's the ask right here. No pressure.
We're about to go to commercial, so the pressure's on.
Wait. So, Steph, what you do is like wait until after the commercial break for him to answer.
And see if I get a rose. Is it a rose?
There
It's
you
camellia.
go.
Right?
I don't know what kind of ceremony this
professional
is.
as mayor now.
Yeah.
I'm staying on the island.
Okay, well, when we come back, stay tuned. We do need to take a quick break to acknowledge our additional sponsors. Thank you to Ochsner Health and Investar Bank for powering this broadcast and supporting local journalism. Please stay with us. We'll be right back after a couple of messages.
Today's broadcast was brought to you in part by Jones Walker, looking ahead to 2026 and beyond. Jones Walker is a proud sponsor of the Forum on the Future of New Orleans. And in part by Investar Bank. Visit us anytime, anyplace, in person or online, and tell them John sent you. InvestarBank.com, member FDIC. And through the help of Ochsner Health, long live you.
Long live you. Long live open roads and open mics. Long live game day and days off. Long live first downs and first steps. Long live fish stories. Long live getting well and staying well, too. Ochsner has the expertise and innovations so our patients can do what they love. Ochsner Health. Long live you.
At Investar Bank, we are proud to offer a palette of products and services for consumers and businesses alike. No matter your level of expertise, let Investar assist you in creating a financial masterpiece and bring dreams into focus. Visit us anytime, any place, in person or online, and tell them that John sent you.
Okay, time's up. Michael?
Yes.
Yay!
Yes.
There you go.
Congratulate
yes.
Michael on another volunteer position.
There you go.
Thank you.
Okay.
And the reason why I want Michael to be part of this is because obviously he led the team before. And so to get kind of everyone started and getting in the vibe of how it's supposed to work and operate, we are not ready to announce it yet, but we do have a great deputy CAO of infrastructure who I want to actually lead the team. But having Michael there to kind of walk everybody through and make sure that we've got the right players in the room, as he had for Super Bowl, I think is going to get us started on the right foot. Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, one question I have is, and this actually we go for the DA's office too, like what do you, from your positions, need from these two, from the mayor and the council, in order to be successful?
Well, I would say money, but we know that's sort of off the table for a little while.
Should I hold her? Should I ask her?
I don't know. Now's
ask
the time.
him, actually, but
Now's the time. I mean, you know, this is an unprecedented time for the city of New Orleans for a lot of different reasons. You know, the world has been watching us since that terror attack in January. And they watched us bounce back in a way that no other city has from that sort of just sort of blow up, right? And there are not a lot of cities where there's collaboration between Republicans and Democrats, and it's very tenuous. It's really tenuous right now, and it's hard to do. But we have been able to find some common ground because we keep talking. But that,
it's tenuous now, right, with the National Guard.
It's damn tenuous now, and it's a dark moment. Yeah. But there's nuance, right? And so what I need from these guys is something that they were just talking about. When there is foot traffic, when there are families walking up and down Canal Street, when there are families playing in parks, when there's visibility, that forces out and makes the criminal element uncomfortable. That is a city reclaiming the commons for themselves and choosing a side, right? And so we need that to be as robust as possible, but not just in the city corridor. We need that happening in the Treme. We need that happening in New Orleans East. And I will say that this city council is the best city council that I've seen in my lifetime, the one that's, including the one that I was on. This is a lot of strong thinkers, a lot of independent thinkers, a lot of creative people that are doers, right? And so having the mayor-elect having a team like that means you can get more done. And we've never had a time when we need to get more done. What do I need from this group? I need us as a city, as city leaders, as business leaders and community leaders to develop a public wellness strategy that is not for this year, but for the next 5 years, the next 10 years, the next 20 years, so that we say we will never be the murder capital again. We'll get out of the top 5. And then once we're out of the top 5, we'll get out of the top 10. And then we'll get out of the top 20. And then the whole country is going to look at New Orleans as a blueprint for what public safety is, because it's not just police and prosecutors, it is a group lift. And as long as we're talking about it like that, I'm getting what I need. And having one of her first appointees or hires be Dr. Vegno clearly shows that the mayor-elect is leaning into public wellness.
Dr. Avegno, of course, has been the health director and has been involved in a number of anti-violence initiatives and is staying on. Michael, I mean, I assume crime is one of the issues that people who are considering locating businesses in New Orleans ask you about?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I think it's absolutely one of them. But like, let me just kind of frame this in terms of what I think the few things that and I don't like the word need because it's collaborative, but there are 4 things that will drive prosperity and ultimately population growth for us. So one is economic opportunity. So having a mayor and a council that want to fix licensing and permitting is critical. As is having leadership that we can bring a business prospect to, and they're going to inspire confidence. And I feel that we have that now. The second thing is quality of life. And quality of life, there are 2 sides to it. One of it is absolutely public safety. That's first and foremost. That's not only from violence from people, but also from the weather, right? People have to feel safe. Then, of course, amenities matter as well. The third thing is affordability. Those things don't matter if people can't afford to live here. So working on affordable housing, doing things like the fortified roof program to bring down insurance costs matters. But the fourth thing that ties it all together is what I'm particularly excited about, and this is something that goes back to my work in New York City after 9/11, and that is narrative. That is the ability to tell a story and create a vision of what the future of the city looks like. And I think everybody has confidence that Mayor-Elect Moreno has the experience, the abilities, the chops, and the interest in doing that. The mayor of New Orleans is an incredibly important spokesperson, and he has to tell the story, and we have not told that well, and I think we can now start telling it better.
Okay, let's jump ahead in time a little bit. We were talking about short term. Let's talk about medium term, and maybe midterm is the word I'd use because I'm thinking maybe 2 years. And, New Orleans doesn't have midterm elections the way the federal government does, but, usually that's kind of a check-in on how people are feeling. So, and it will be halfway through the current term for both of you. What does New Orleans look like in 2 years? Is the budget stabilized? What projects are online? What are coming online? Both city level and private sector. You want to start, JP?
Yeah, I'll start. I mean, I think when you look at the work that we're doing with Mike Wagishpak with Legislative Auditor, he said, and he was, I think, being very conservative, that it would be 3 years to correct kind of the sinkhole that the budget currently is. I know that the mayor-elect has given pushback, and as is the council, that we think we can get out of that sooner. But my goal in 2 years, first off, is to not be going to the state begging for $150 million revenue anticipation notes at that point. The goal is to rebuild the cash reserve to the point where we fall in line with every other municipality where RAND notes are tiny, tiny amounts that are really there just to kind of be on the bubble in case we have a moment of uncertainty. So the first goal in 2 years is to get the budget in a place where it is functional, where it is self-sufficient, and where we have efficient services for the amount of money people are paying in tax dollars. I mean, when you look at the growth of the budget, even before COVID when it exploded in size, it is kind of difficult to explain to people how the budget could have grown to the size it had and services not improved at all. And I think the challenge is, and the mayor-elect has taken this on with the council, is to have a more efficient budget, a budget that if and when we grow the budget, there are definitive benchmarks that are put before the city to say, if we're gonna raise your sanitation fee, here's what you're gonna get in exchange for it. If we are going to advocate for a drainage fee for sewage and water board, here is why we're doing it, and here's how this will potentially lower your taxes. There's a lot of things that have kind of been on the horizon for a while that really could not get movement, to Michael's point, because there wasn't leadership or a narrative as to how doing this thing will bring us to this point. And I think with having new leadership with an articulated vision of where the city is going to be in 2 years, building that narrative, that collaboration between the council, the DA, every other agency, that this is collectively where we all want to go, that the goal is not just to fix the city budget, but to rebuild faith in citizens and residents of the city that this is a place you want to live that is going somewhere. So if in 2 years the budget's stable, services are stable, and the city is seeing population growth and people reinvesting and laying deep roots, that is success.
Okay. Anyone else?
I would just add it, and where JP ended is where I was going to start, is that in 2 years, I want the perception of the city to be changed to the positive, where we are now looking like a very transparent and accountable government, one that is very fair and transparent around contracting, a government that works toward operational excellence, one that is budgeting to ensure that every single one of your taxpayer dollars is being spent correctly, where we are making proper investments to what Jason was talking about in prevention, to ensure that we have a safer city. He's absolutely right. You know, we cannot have a safer city if we're just talking about putting people in jail and prosecuting. We have to invest in prevention, and we've been doing that, and to continue down that path is critically important. So really that's what I want. In 2 years, I want people to say like, wow, you know, New Orleans is a different place. The vibe is different. I feel a level of urgency in city government, that they don't come to City Hall just to wait around and hope for something to happen and hope for someone to help them, that they go to City Hall and actually get what they needed out of City Hall. And so that, to me, will be success in 2 years if people are feeling this different vibe and seeing a new type of City Hall. And let me tell you, this won't only resonate throughout the city of New Orleans. This will resonate across the state and across the country. If we change the perception of New Orleans, the level of opportunities that we will be able to capture are to the point we can't even count.
Stephanie, can I just add one thing? So New Orleans, at its worst, during its darkest moment, is still the coolest city in this country.
Yes.
But when we are leaning in and working together, we are an extraordinary city, like Florence, right? I mean, we are a special place, right? So brick and mortar 2 years from now, there's a DNA lab that is functioning in this city so that we're not only testing murders and rapes, but also car burglaries, right? So we can connect the dots between people that are going from different areas.
Is that in process?
It's in process. The council has made a commitment and gotten a commitment from Dr. Kelly, who runs the crime lab. They're funding the program. We haven't had one since pre-Katrina. It was one of the first things we should have done after Katrina. We're farming everything out to the state police, and then they're now sending it, because we're sending so much, to a private lab, which means we get a very big bill every time we have to go to trial and every single time we bring in an expert to testify. I just renovated a bathroom. It took way too long to get that permit. They said parks and parkways need to figure out if any trees are going to be destroyed. There's a lot of craziness, so we got to make sure that it's not this hard for people to do small things with their homes.
Wait, what you doing in your bathroom, Jason?
There were no trees harmed, Michael.
Right.
But you know, we've got to make sure, like the mayor-elect said, that city services are working for citizens and working for small businesses. That's going to have a ripple effect. But there's some very basic things that need to happen that are in place, and there's aspirational things that need to happen because we are an exceptional city. We have to lean into that place.
Can I give a 10-second answer now
Sure.
that I'm on the infrastructure committee? I think in 2 years we will have Super Bowl level infrastructure across a majority of the city with a commitment to get the rest done.
Okay. 2 years. So 2 years is really kind of setting the scene for, like, positioning us for future growth. Is that the idea? Okay. I was going to ask about 10 years, but I think I'm going to go with 20 because, you know, we've talked about Katrina. We've talked about a couple of, excuse me. We've talked about a couple of projects that have been, excuse me, sitting vacant for 20 years now, and there are others. There's the Lindy Boggs Hospital. I know that's included in the new bond issue that was just passed. There's Charity Hospital. There's the fact that the DNA lab has not been built. 20 years, it seems like not that long ago to a lot of us who were here. What do you see in 20 years? What does New Orleans look like in terms of kind of things people will see walking around or driving around?
You want to go? I'll take a stab. So, I mean, there's a couple of things that we have not been able to wrap our hands around. Several administrations have ignored. And you have the Red Rocks in Colorado. That's their natural resources. People love it. We have culture. We have art. We have architecture. We have Armstrong Park, which is this beautiful asset with water that is at the edge of the French Quarter that leads into Tremé. We've got Canal Street, which is our Champs-Élysées, which we're not using the upper floors of, and we haven't had a strategic plan for a long time. Imagine if those areas were bustling with locals, with visitors from other parishes, and folks from other cities. I mean, that's a game changer. That's a game changer. Now people are talking about New Orleans in a way they haven't talked about in a very long time. And so I really do think with the leadership we have now in the public sector and the private sector, that we stand at the precipice of being the city, of being what we could have always been, what we were never able to achieve.
I'll give a quick one here. So a lot of the changes and things we're talking about doing now are fixing what's broke, literally and figuratively filling the potholes. If we're going to achieve the vision that we're articulating in 10, 20 years, because mayors come and go, it means that over the next 8 years, we're going to have to make the systems change so that regardless of who is in office, we are going to organically do the right thing because incentives are right, laws are right. And those structural changes, that's a better word, are much harder to make than just filling a pothole. But I think if we want to create a place where, as you always said, Jason, where we're leaving our kids to solve different problems from the ones that we're solving today, it's going to require structural change to the way our government's actually built. And that will really be our legacy, I think.
Well, and I think to that end, I think when you look at how active this council has been on a variety of charter amendments to functionally change how government operates, I think that when you look over the next 20 years, the goal is the groundwork that'll be laid during this administration with this council is to really create a New Orleans structurally that operates differently than it's operated for the last 50, 60 years. To put a level of accountability in areas like the charter where you protect the city and the citizens regardless of which administration is there. Because fundamentally, when you look at the problems, when I was talking earlier to someone, they're talking about the ups and downs of the budget. In a functional city, you should not have ups and downs of the budget. When the budget has a shortfall in a functional city, you flip 2 or 3 levers, you make 2 or 3 small cuts in city government functions. The fact that we've had multiple administrations where new administrations come in having to furlough all of the employees for multiple months, that tells you the city is functionally dysfunctional. So in 20 years, what I see is a city that, due to structural changes and guardrails that are put on, is functional, and you don't see the roller coaster. Because what scares people away from investment in the city of New Orleans is everyone's like, well, I really like this administration, will I like the next one? And if you can't convince people that the city will be functional regardless of whoever is the mayor, that is going to be a huge barrier to long-term investment. I think that, to Michael's earlier point, in 20 years, you're going to see a revitalized New Orleans East because of things like the port. There'll be something at the Bayou Phoenix site. What that is, I don't know yet, but that site, due to the sheer necessity of that ripe development on that corridor, will be something. The lower Ninth Ward will be revitalized because of the tremendous work being done within the city and also the growth of St. Bernard. I mean, there are all these things that part of the frustration of living here is that I think so many people see what the city could be and it never gets there. I think what will define us in 20 years, especially with climate change, is that if we do not get this city right, there are tremendous people around the country that root for us to fail. We have to be the city on the hill, the beacon, to justify the tremendous amount of money the federal government and the whole country spent to make sure that we could stay here, as the water is always an existential threat.
I think to look at where we're going to be in 20 years and where we want to be, you need to take a look at successful cities across the country and where they were 20 years prior. So if you take a look at successful cities and those who are doing well and where they're having a population boost, there's a couple things that come into play. One is that the city services are good and that it's easy to live in these cities. Their roads work, their lights are on, they don't get delayed to work because there's like endless construction projects and potholes and everything else, okay? Number two, they feel safe. And then number three, really, and I said 2 points, so I guess it's really three, although 1 and 2 go together. So the second part of it all, I guess, is that there's opportunity. Overall, that there's opportunity. So that's what our real focus has to be in right now if we want to have a prosperous 20 years. That's hyper-focus on making it easier to live here in our city and putting our main efforts there, that as city government, that's what we can control, making sure that your city services work. And so that's first and foremost. And then number two, just doing all possible to bring in more jobs, more workforce opportunities, partnering with Delgado, see what we can do there, and creating New Orleans being a place where people, like they have to move to other cities to get a job, they have to move here to get a job because this is where the opportunity's at. That's how you really create a successful city and transform the city in 20 years. And so you need this administration followed by another administration that's their key focus. I think where administrations go wrong and where the city gets off kilter is that they get off focus, that the city forgets that your main job in city government is city services. But then it gets all off kilter and things go, all these different ways or whatever, and then the main thing you're supposed to do doesn't get done. And so, like I said, to be that successful city, to be that transformed city in 20 years, all of us, myself, this new city council, whoever comes after me and whoever comes after this city council, has to be focused on those two things, making our city easier to live in and actually committing to that and not losing focus, and then creating as much opportunity as possible within the city of New Orleans where people have to come here to keep a job.
Okay, I see we were running short of time, and that's a great way to end this, looking to the future. Excuse me. I'd like to thank our panelists for taking the time out of their busy schedules to be here. And of course, thank you to you, our NOLA.com audience, for tuning in.
Oh, Steph.
We'd like to thank you, Stephanie.
We'd like to
for
thank
being here with us today.
Okay, time to go. We could not have done this without the support of our presenting sponsors.
Pass me the list. I'm going to read it for you.
There you go.
Do this like Saturday Night Live.
We obviously this could not have been done without the support of the presenting sponsor, Delta Utilities, as well as Ochsner Health, Jones Walker, Delgado Community College, and Investar Bank. For NOLA.com, she's Stephanie Grace. I'm Helena Moreno, JP Morrell, Jason Williams, and Michael Hecht. It was our honor to join all of you all and hope to see you again soon. Thank you all. Happy holidays.